Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the
Wait,
Gray Area.
wait,
Yeah,
wait.
okay.
It's still loading. Going live, and go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Gray Area podcast. I'm W, and tonight with me is C and J. Say hi, guys.
Hi,
Hi guys.
Ayo,
And
ayo.
C seems to have no energy for tonight. C, are you okay?
Hi guys.
uh, oh my goodness. Anyways, so for tonight, everyone, our dear listeners, whoever you may be, our topic will be about politics, particularly politics being a popularity contest, or for those who want a better term, personality politics.
Ooh.
Jay and I had like a meeting of the minds there. Oh yeah. So tonight's gonna be a very interesting topic, I guess, since CJ, we've already talked about this before, and I guess we actually really liked about it. Just a brief history for everyone. We actually had the idea of having a podcast because we had this topic one night just to talk about it.
Yeah,
You ran,
true.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is the topic that started it all.
exactly. Took us around like 2 hours. Like,
Yeah,
finish
it
the
went on
topic.
like for a few hours. Just
But we're not gonna take maybe we're not gonna take our listeners that long, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, standard standard time. Anyways, personality politics. I think all of us are kind of aware of what it does. We all know that people sometimes vote not because of their platform or not because of their advocacy, but more on who they are, what they do, how popular they are, and the like. Am I correct, JNC? Maybe you also have some thoughts about personality politics.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the Philippines, that's a
Eh?
given. Like personality politics is primarily how most people vote. I think that's in my opinion.
Right, right. Yeah, most people just vote because it's convenient.
print out. Yeah.
How about you, C? Maybe you have some thoughts about it.
Yeah, I also think it's not just true in the Philippines, it's also true other places.
Oh yeah,
Right,
But yeah,
true,
it's
exactly.
rampant
right.
here or yeah.
Yeah, people often gravitate to the person with the most confidence, with the most charisma, with you know, uh, with the most popularity per se. When it comes to like doing their civil service or doing their votes, and I guess it's a kind of destructive habit to have. It's a destructive culture that we Filipinos and some of our neighbors or even some of our friends abroad have in the current state, right? But tonight, for everyone's information, we're also going to talk about like what do we think or what are our experiences per se when it comes to personality politics, and then we're gonna dive deeper how this reflects into our national elections and the like. So without further ado, I'm going to ask C and J to share with everyone what their experience is when it comes to personality politics. I think we all can agree that personality politics start off when it comes to, if we're aware, uh, the classroom elections. You know, when we start voting for like the classroom mayor, or like the or the year representative and the like. So, do you guys have any experiences about that? Do you guys have any interesting stories that you want to share about personality politics? Uh, C, J,
Yeah.
yeah,
As we've talked about this before, as
yeah,
you said, so we know that it started in a classroom setting or like in the school setting. But
mm,
during that time when we talked about it, it was actually we were actually shocked that, or we were saying that, oh, it actually came from school setting, right?
right,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So maybe a lot of people aren't also aware of it, or yeah.
mm,
So uh, a, a story I told you guys about the personality politics coming from school was that when we were voting for Supreme Student Councils, right?
mm,
yeah, in
right.
high
In
school,
the
yeah,
yeah
No naming
national
names. We
election.
don't want to anger them.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't want
uh,
haters.
yeah, pero the or the way people campaigned back in the day were, they just who has the most uh hip or kanang something that can win the people's hearts.
Mhm.
It kanang pakulo ba, or
Mhm.
like they go into the election, and then their opponent and them is
Mhm.
not really that uh they don't stand a chance, not really stand a chance, but there's a gap in the um programs and the advocacies between the two of them, or two running candidates, and then the other wins just because the other one uh was more hip, had more cool points when it
Right.
Yeah.
comes to campaigning. So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes they just win because they had that one.
That.
It's really hard not
Yeah,
to
yeah, I agree.
say
Yeah. That
bad
edge.
experience.
Yeah. I
Yeah, the
mean.
Yeah,
cool
that's
kid,
edge.
it's always the cool kid. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, even back in high school, I think because the three of us went to the same school, we were in the same section. We practically knew about this, right? We basically, when it comes to like Supreme Student Council, it's usually the most popular person. It's usually who wins, and I think one instance at that time, or the example that you gave last time was between this specific person who had a really good platform, who really wanted to make a change when it comes to like the student body and to do projects about the student body, who really had an advocacy, versus this person who was very popular, who had the backing of various varsity teams, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, right.
ultimately the person who had like a really good advocacy lost, because this other person practically was just popular. Every time he went on stage, he was just full of energy. He went full, he had like lots of charisma. Everyone wanted to know him. He spoke very simply, and I guess it also resonated with the people around him, with the
Mm.
people that were like listening to him. And ultimately, he won, even if the comparatively the what
Other
the,
candidate was.
the other candidate had like better platforms and had a better plan for the student council at that time, right?
I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I from high school. It's more on. Well, you can say that it's just high school and the stakes aren't that heavy,
Right.
or the stakes aren't that high. It's not that important. It's just who mandates like whatever, or who gets to run the Supreme Student Council for that
Mhm.
year. But it starts there, man. Good, like when people start thinking about I'll vote for this person because he leaves an impression,
Mhm.
not because of the policies or the advocacies that he gives, but
Right.
because of the character that he conveys to people. Like, uh, I'll vote for him because sikat man siya, or because he's popular, or
Right.
yeah. So it starts there, and it might seem harmless because it's just high school, and nothing's that deep, and we're still growing up. But you carry that on, man. I think, from my experience, I believe like you carry that on
Mhm.
when you start growing up, and then eventually you don't notice it that you're actually picking your candidates during like the legit elections based on
Their
personality, or yeah,
popularity.
or popularity or impression. Yeah. That's why you keep hearing like, uh, I won't vote for politician A or politician B because maldito siya, or maybe because I'll vote for him because he's guapo, or saka mabait, or maybe because like he he's good at sports or stuff like that. That's the same thing. Like in
I
yeah,
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
Yeah.
yeah.
I definitely agree. We can't escape the fact that, apart from high school being like our breeding grounds, being a place where we get to eventually learn our life lessons, right? It's
Yeah.
also a microcosm of of how we do things, or how normal stuff, or how everything works basically when it comes to like when outside of the four corners of the school, right? So,
True.
as what Jay said, uh, we can't really escape the fact that these types of behavior ultimately translate to toxic behavior when it comes to voting, or actually putting in the politic, or when discussing politics on a grander scale compared to like in high school. I think this even holds true after high school, and even if we go to college, right? So basically, since we also went to the same university, wow, we all,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
And
I think that's the main reason why you see the discussion in Filipino politics more on character and
yeah,
not on like issues or addressing issues, or when they do address issues it's like very digestible or broad, like
yeah,
I'm not corrupt, or I'm pangmasa, because it starts in college or high school when it's like I'm sporty, or I'm educated, or I'm a dean's lister or whatever. It's not more on like this is my idea for solving this issue. This is my idea for this type of topic. But
mhm,
that we don't do that. It's more on like in high school. It's more on like he's from the high top section, or he's very popular.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why
yeah.
the discussion is like, have you noticed like all the political parties in the Philippines do tackle the same issues? There,
Exactly.
there isn't a contrast in between like your Republican or Democrat in the U.S. where it's like conservative or
Yeah,
liberal. Like all of them
right.
are just talking about the same thing, like about poverty, about how to solve poverty. There's no left wing, there's no right wing, or
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no like which candidate is pro-abortion or not pro-abortion. People don't think about those things, or who's pro-divorce or not, or who's these relevant issues. They're not talked about because during the election time, because most of the things we talk about during election time is this guy was from this school, or
yeah.
whatever, or
Or from this place.
yeah,
So I did something
or
great. Yeah,
masa siya or something. That's why, yeah, it, earlier we established that it starts off in high school, and then like
mhm,
um, it explodes when we're voting already. That's why it's easier for politicians to do like campaign ads wherein it's um,
stupid.
like
Yeah.
tao mahirap, or taga-masa, because that's appealing to
Even
yeah,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
gotta admit,
Mm.
even politicians don't even have to appeal to being massa or to being poor. We have one politician who just did the budots and became the senator,
Oh
right?
my
Oh
god.
yeah, or yeah, that's the clearest one. Like you just have to. Oh man.
He didn't have a
Don't,
platform. He didn't have an advocacy. All he did was dance in front of everyone through a very popular song, and then somehow became the senator of the Philippines.
and he was alleged
Under,
yeah,
alleged-
plunderer.
Yeah. Slender.
exactly.
The case was still ongoing at the time, right? It was like, what the fuck is people thinking?
And
And
so,
I, but yeah, I mean that's one of the clearest examples of personality politics. But I think um the that's clear, but like there are a lot of examples we can see that are subtle, we don't notice it, or we don't, sometimes we don't even consider it as personality politics, but they actually are. Like,
Mhm.
like, when you know it's campaign season or it's election time in the Philippines, when it's so fucking dirty because there's like streamers everywhere, posters and stuff, because it's better for politicians to just spread their faces everywhere and get that mind share or be acknowledged, rather than to go around neighborhood to neighborhood sharing their platforms or their ideas for solving issues.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
But I think
mhm.
this is just because it's the easiest campaign strategy,
Yeah,
right?
because it's super digestible and understandable, and
You would
as you,
still win.
yeah, and as you've established earlier, that in high school we're used to it. So obviously, when we're in not high school and we're adults, we don't notice that it's wrong or it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because technically we've just normalized that type of behavior since we were kids.
true.
And ultimately, when we grow up,
Mm.
we don't. It doesn't matter anymore, right? We
Yeah,
just there's another way of like of voting the next person who we know. I mean, if you don't take me wrong, when we were in high school, we didn't really take the student council
seriously.
very seriously,
Seriously.
right? We
Exactly.
didn't necessarily expect uh, projects to be like that. We, in fact, some of us even thought of it as an inconvenience, right?
Yeah, we.
Because we were forced to
Yeah.
vote. We were like there were specific periods where we were like forced to vote or go to like the gym or go to like the auditorium just to like listen to these people argue about stuff that we don't really care about. And that was like our line of thinking before, and we've never really changed that because the system, or basically the educational system, didn't even, or our teachers at least didn't even expound on the importance of having a student council, of having your voice being heard, right?
Exactly. That was not emphasized at all.
Right.
Do you even remember like one of the times when we were in high school, and it became an issue that one of the candidates didn't have in the voting precinct thingy, the voting PC. One of the candidates didn't have his
Didn't have
face.
his picture.
Yeah, didn't have his
Yeah.
picture shown, and
Right.
their party put into question like the entire voting system, because like his picture wasn't shown, people might not vote for him because his picture wasn't there, and it's like it's so weird because in a normal situation, voting is done because you believe in a candidate, right? Or because you
Right.
believe in his ideas. But
Mm.
people contesting an election just because the photo wasn't there, that means like, so physical appearance gives gives weight, yeah, gives credence to people's minds when they're voting. So and then and then what was weird about that for me, okay, in my opinion, and but I don't normally share my opinions in high school, is the teachers or the school actually considered it for like, maybe we need to do a revote or something, but in the end it was like, why? It
No, I kind of disagree with you on that because, in high school as W said, we weren't that involved in Supreme Student Councils. We don't care about it. So when the candidates present their platforms or their advocacies,
Mhm.
they do it. We only know them by faces. We don't know their names because why would we remember their names? We don't even care, right? So I think it mattered then during the voting.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what I meant was that I think what should have started was, the school should or teachers or professors should have emphasized that even if it's just a student council election, it still kind of mattered. Or it's still pretty important. Instead of emphasizing like having them go, you know, do publicity stunts by going through school to I mean room to room, which was pretty great. I mean, it killed a lot of time. during class sessions. But what could have been better was maybe I don't know, like platform should have been showed up, or yeah, maybe you are right. See that maybe it's because we didn't really care at that time, but it's still kind of funny to think about, right? When an
Yeah,
election
it's
is
funny though.
yeah, an
I
election
It's based on face
yeah,
value.
yeah, based on
Yeah.
face value, it kind of discredits an election just because his face wasn't there.
Mm.
It's so that's just what I'm trying to point out.
I actually see Jay's point of view, right? In a way, the training should have started there. It
Yeah.
shouldn't have mattered already at that point. I think it was like the wrong call of our teachers at that point. Redoing the elections just because faces weren't shown, and the like. Maybe they could have just removed the faces altogether. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what should have been there, or what should have we have been voting for technically, was not the person, but rather their advocacy. Right?
True. And who can represent you the best, you know?
Exactly. Like,
And
but then again, political parties in high school just basically just had the same advocacy.
yeah, they're the same in high school. They're the same in almost the same in college. I mean, there is a stark difference in our college, but like, and then in real life, they're pretty much fucking the same. All of them, PDP Laban, Liberal Party, Nacionalista. Like,
If you wiki all of them and look into their political affiliations, all of them say the same. They're liberals.
yeah, it doesn't really fucking matter that's why politicians in the Philippines just jump ship every 4 years, because it doesn't matter, and it what matters is that that party is popular, and currently, let's say Duterte's party is popular, PDP Laban, so everybody's jumping ship.
Right.
So, so yeah, personality politics plays a huge role there, but nobody notices it. Like if you ask a normal Filipino, or maybe our voters right now, like, do you even know like which party is majority in the House, or which party is majority in the Senate?
Mm.
Or which party has your advocacies in order? Like, for example, if you're homosexual, or you're lesbian, which party is pro gay rights, or which party protects your rights as citizens of this country, or who's pro same sex marriage? Those types of things.
Exactly.
Pro
We don't
personality,
have
yeah, personality politics hinders that for me. Like, hinders those discussions, because there isn't a united front speaking out for that, because
Mm.
all parties are the same. They don't matter. Unlike in the U.S., wherein it's, well, I think personality politics has a different like effect there.
exactly.
I mean, it's
Totally different
it's
animal.
too extreme personality politics that has happened there, that it's almost become like cult politics, wherein like Donald Trump has a cult called a party, and every, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In the Philippines, you also have like the cult politics.
Ah, yeah. True, that's true. I mean, do you even want to get started on that?
Yeah. Oh, I think a better example, but I think would have to be like the UK voting style, primarily where, for example, in the UK when they vote for their MP, or basically their representatives, right, in the or their minister for the parliament, they don't necessarily vote for the person. They just
Vote
basically
for the
off
vote
party.
for the party that they believe in. Exactly.
That should have been the way that how we're supposed to do things, because parties are supposed to represent political affiliations or political
Belief. Yeah.
parties. But we don't have that here.
How about
It's all
how about
center
you?
left or
Yeah.
left.
True.
There's nothing, there's no counterbalance to it.
True.
And even if they say left, or like they're center left, or even right, they all of them practically do the same, or do the same things.
True.
And some political parties who fathom themselves as left, actually are very much right, because they're authoritarianism. They're very conservative, and
They support the military and the police
exactly.
too
There's
much.
no
Yeah.
they don't. I think just basing it off in high school and our how we don't necessarily understand how politics worked in high school because we didn't necessarily care, and I guess the educational system never really mentioned to us how important it is to actually discern uh, who to pick among a certain set of candidates, not just from political parties. It's all just reminders from our teachers. It's like pick the right one, pick the something something, but then they don't necessarily explain how
How?
the gravity
Yeah.
of the choices that we make, right?
Exactly.
Right.
How about you, C? Do you like agree like on like what we just ranted out, what W just ranted out earlier? I mean,
Well, as I was listening to the two of you, so what keeps running in my mind was that what if people popularity contest is a thing in the Philippines because not a lot of people really care about politics,
Mm.
right?
true.
So yeah, so that's why it's easy way to campaign through popularity, and then everyone everyone on with who's legal to vote can vote based on popularity. So I just keep thinking, what if it wasn't that way? Only those who cared about politics can vote about
Mm.
politics.
Yeah, you do
So
have a
yeah, I
point. I mean,
mean,
it's again rooted in like apathy or maleducation, or what do you think?
yeah, a part a part of it can be rooted to our education system because like W said, he was right, it wasn't integrated in our school systems, in our education system. We weren't really taught how to discern who to choose when it comes to elections, how to know if these candidates are passionate or compassionate, or these candidates have the right
Mm.
Exactly. I mean, we
advocacy.
were
So how to know
educate.
if your beliefs
Yeah,
or
it,
your advocacies, yeah, how to know if your beliefs or advocacies also align with those candidates. So yeah, I think part of it comes from education also.
mm.
Yeah. How about
Yeah.
apathy? Like
I think
it's so bad in the corruption, or that issue is too systemic that people don't care anymore.
yeah, I think apathy is
Mm,
actually very systemic in the Philippines. It's kind of part of our culture. We don't necessarily advocate for like a speak up culture, right? We usually just like just accept your fate or accept what it is, then just go through it. And we do have like this resilience, pardon for the word, resilience porn that we're so addicted to that it actually fails us from speaking up. And then we've also developed this culture of just like thinking that politics in itself uh is corrupt, is dirty, it's always been dirty and can never be changed. And that's why we hardly speak up, and that's why we have this sense of apathy. Right. Well, that's just for me anyway. What are your thoughts?
yeah, I think that's true. Not everyone is interested with it. There's apathy in Filipino. It's kind of part of Filipino culture, and then, but then almost everyone on legal age is required to vote. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of off balancing the chances of those who had real beliefs or real advocacies.
I mean, yeah, I too think that apathy is one of those things that create this, personality politics type of nature here in the Philippines. But I think that it's two ways that because I believe like the youth, like the young adults of today, or the our age, 20s, 30s, um, newly 18, those types of people, they're more like they're more vocal,
Yeah.
but the problem is I think it's super deep rooted that some of them lose their interest because like their dads or their parents or would are still voting in this type of mindset, or are you know voting in this way, and so they have no choice in the matter, or they're an influence. But I think hopefully, like in the future, people would, kids or young adults or our age would start to realize that um, once you start asking these politicians questions like, "Hey, I'm a 22-year-old BPO worker who does night shift, who has no dependents, and I'm being taxed like 15 to 20% of my of the time of my salary. Then what are you gonna do for me? What
Yeah.
as a politician, what are you gonna do for me? Or hey, I'm a homosexual who has a partner where we've lived together for 7 years or something like that, and we can't. We would like to adopt, but we can't. We would like to start a family or stuff like that, but we can't because there's no same-sex marriage in the Philippines. What are you gonna do for me?
Mm,
When we the citizenry start asking those types of questions instead of
mm,
being served our politicians infomercial ads about them being young, striving to become this successful person, or becoming from nakaligo ka na ba sa dagat ng basura type bullshit, or
Yeah.
once we stop uh, considering that and we start thinking about, oh, this person, I'm a mother of two, but my husband keeps beating me and I want a divorce but I can't because that's
mm,
not allowed here in the Philippines. When people like these start thinking about what kind of good our politicians can give, then that's the time when th- change becomes feasible.
mm.
But at the moment, that's pretty much absent.
Right. I
Um,
agree with
Yeah,
you.
that's
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of true. That would be nice though, if
Mm,
yeah, they can be people will be able to think that way. However, I was thinking, what if because last election, I heard this story where a person voted for this politician because he was popular, and then he didn't really have time to go through all of the candidates because he or she was working really hard. It's like people at the who has low income or who are hustling every day of their lives don't really have time for
time
it.
to
But what,
consider. Yeah,
yeah, time
true.
to consider. So
exactly.
what about them?
I think it's
They don't
not
really
their failure, but it's more on the failure of the politician to have the
reach to them.
to reach out to them. Yeah, because majority of us Filipinos don't. Yeah, true. Don't have the time to be talking about this or thinking about it because you know.
Especially when you have the bills to pay, right?
Yeah, when you have bills to pay,
Yeah.
and then in the hierarchy of needs, like
Mm,
basic comes above philosophical or whatever. But that's not their failure. It's more on the failure of the politicians. They're paying so much to be on TV instead of showing their stories or stuff like that. They should be like, I'm I'm politician A, and here are my platforms. Here's what I believe in for our minorities or for people who feel disenfranchised. This is what I believe in.
mm,
There. I think the closest we have on that is like, well, when politicians say like, sa masasakit, I did like bills for libreng gamot and stuff, but that's farthest as it can go. It's like so basic. I don't know.
right.
Yeah. And then I don't know because what I found funny was while we were like I was researching about this topic and while we were like discussing like the
Mm,
next week this is gonna be our topic. It was like
right.
I remember like one of my friends like kanang we're in the same precinct and
Uh-huh.
well yeah we went to the same high school as well and I saw him like while he was leaving his precinct while I was still coming in because I voted late like afternoon late and he asked me like who I was voting for, who was I gonna vote for that presidential election, and
Mhm.
um he said I said like I was gonna vote for MDS at that time, and yeah, I did vote for MDS at that time, but and then he said why. I said because among the politicos at that time, she had the ones with the concrete like plans and stuff,
Mhm.
and then he chose like he said Duterte, and it was like why, and then he said para Bisaya na pud. It was like okay, okay, but see that was like okay. And now I can see him sometimes post like stuff about like junk anti-terror law, or he should have understood that by voting for this type of candidate, then who was whose policies in Davao had this connotation of being semi
Militaristic.
semi authoritarian or semi crackdown on hard on crime and hard on drugs and stuff like that, then that this would be a step to that.
Mhm.
That's why you have candidate.
Well,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's it
that's true.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
But I also heard people saying they're gonna vote for this type of politician because para dili na pud bright pero daw bright ang madaog, so like what.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Like,
I heard that.
I'm really not voting
That
for.
one. Oh my god, it's
You
so.
should just
Uh,
that
if you don't know the candidates, I think you should just not vote.
exactly.
But yeah, that's
But I
kind of
think
taking away their.
I think it also goes both ways, right? I think for us who are already informed, who really know what to, who to vote for, how to vote, what certain things should we look for when we're voting, should also be the ones to educate these people to like vote properly. And it's like, I know we've been doing that for like the longest time, right? But I think now that things, or I think the nation is very polarized already with the state of our affairs currently,
true,
and people are
true.
super involved already when it comes to like politics, in a sense na
To the sense nga identified ka either as your
yeah,
DDS or Dilawan or
or you're woke or something like that.
woke or Marcos apologist. There's those types of people too.
It's
Uh,
really like the best time to educate people
yeah, that
properly right now.
politics isn't a gang war wherein you're either a blood or a crip. It's more on like which ideals do I want to see in this country, and
Vote for the idea.
yeah,
You
and
should vote for the idea, not the person behind or the person who's
uh,
advocating for it. You know,
Face of the idea.
true.
not the face, the
Uh,
mind.
yeah, I think we've been reiterating that point like a lot of times during this conversation, and
Yeah.
yeah, to our listeners out there, I mean, yeah, just vote for that idea. When next time you're voting 2022, think about it. Does this politician exemplify my beliefs? And if there is no like, they don't show any like concrete ideas, then ask. I mean, social media is there, they're available, you can always DM them on Twitter or Facebook, or do your research, and hopefully if more people are asking for that same information, then more politicians are forced to answer, right? Because the in an ideal world, how this should go is that if they don't have a stand on an issue that's important to you, then you don't have to vote for them. But or
Mm.
yeah, and like, don't be like, for example, what are you for example, like last election, like what are you gonna do on the issue of Spratly? I'm gonna ride a jet ski and plant our flag there. That's not a concrete, answer. And I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's part of the reason why personality
But
politics
because
won
it
that election.
yeah, but because it looked as if he was strong, or because it felt like, oh, this guy has, it's gonna be tough on China. But that happened, the opposite thing happened, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that was not a concrete plan, that was just to build rapport.
Because it was a popular
Yeah.
thought at
Yeah. So
that time, right?
yeah, true. So to our listeners, don't be that guy. Don't choose your votes wisely. The stereotype, but how it's conveyed isn't like good. So
Mhm.
vote on ideas, not people. Yeah, I think W put it well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, don't completely just vote for the idea without actually being critical
Yeah.
about the person. I
True.
think the better thing to say here is just be very
Be
critical.
critical.
Oh
Be
yeah,
critical.
exactly.
I mean, if there's an idea that you think or that the person is advocating for, vote for him, but then be also critical of that person if that person is actually good of heart or uh, has the best interests of people in mind and not just another cog in the never-ending cycle of corruption in the Philippines,
True.
which I hope would end soon. So it has to be a balance in a sense, but at the end you have to be critical. I know there are other people out there who might not have the time, especially those less fortunate, to be critical about their votes. So if that's the case, if you are that person who is blessed with that, uh, with uh, who is blessed with the capacity to be critical about the vote, it's also a calling for you to educate these people to vote properly, to know, to be to for them to for you to share your thoughts on who they should vote for. Don't necessarily mention and don't necessarily just digest it in a sense that it's easy for them to do, because I think it's also important for us to also share with people to also think critically, right? Not just uh you know think for them. It's something that we should also foster among people, even if it's not going to be as complicated or it's not going to be as thorough compared to the more fortunate. Yeah.
True.
You have thoughts?
See?
What the candidates should be doing.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Sorry, we lost you a bit there. See? Go ahead.
Okay. I think people should just be curious as to what these candidates
Mhm.
can do for them.
True.
Overall, spark, conversations. We don't have necessarily, like what W said, those who are privileged to have the capacity to, be able to ask these questions. They should not just brainwash the people that say you should vote this guy, you should vote this guy because like this. Rather, we should ask them what can help you, and then we present to them what the advocacies of the other candidates are, so that they should discern for themselves who can help them.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's also important to be curious at the end of the day.
Exactly, because in the end, it's you who gets affected. I mean, you're living in this country, and in the end, you will feel the effects of what their policies will entail or their lack of these policies. Don't be that person who would regret it in the end. That sucks. And yeah,
No, I have a question though.
yeah.
We so we are all encouraging people to be politically involved.
Yeah, I think that political involvement is important because you as a citizen, that's your right and responsibility. You don't have to be super involved, but come election time, you should know who you're voting for, because that's gonna have a profound effect on not just you, but your friend, your neighbor, your children, generations to come.
Yeah.
And
Long
you being apathetic to it or ignorant to it will have a huge effect on the cycle of corruption, cycle of apathy. It won't. Nothing would change unless citizenry would be smart, or would affect that change.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, there is
I agree.
there is truth to, like, how they say that, the common DDS reason online, that reklamo lang kayo ng reklamo but wala kayong ginagawa or something. Because it's true that we should hold our politicians accountable, but it's us who put them in that place in the first place. So
Right.
their damage on us was brought upon our own doing. And don't wash your hands if, hey, I didn't vote for him, but the fact that other people did is a failure on the citizenry, or the fact that he won is a failure in the citizenry's part. Man said it's not just
Yeah,
we're-
but it's
yeah.
kind of wrong to say it's failure and citizenry, because what if they really believed on, Duterte? So it's kind of wrong of us to say na it's wrong of you to vote for him because he didn't.
No, I mean, what I'm
Yes,
saying
that's
is
fine.
that when people say, like, I didn't vote for him, or wash their hands and feel apathetic, but the fact that it's the citizenry's, like, responsibility to put people into office, there should be a responsibility there. Even if you didn't vote for him, then that's where activism goes into play, because
Exactly.
yeah, I think.
Mm.
Does that, like, make sense? I'm not sure if, like, I made sense there.
It's alright.
Well,
That if ever, for example, the one you voted for, the one you believed in, didn't, like, win, then then you don't have to say, like, it's okay, I didn't even vote for him, so, like, whatever damage he does, it's not my responsibility. It's still your responsibility, and it's actually, like, that's where activism comes
Yeah.
into play.
okay.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
what you're trying to point out here,
Yeah.
Hebs, is that Filipinos should have a collective mindset. Right? It's not supposed to be like an individualistic thing, right?
Yeah.
If there was a bad decision made by one person, it's not necessarily just his problem and his problem alone. It should be a collective effort in trying to fix that problem. And from there, I think the first thing we could actually do as a people is to actually just demand accountability from our politicians, to be competent, or at least have their interests, or have the interests of the people in mind when they're doing these things, and not just for themselves. We
Yeah.
always have this notion, when it comes to politics in the Philippines, that specific, or once we vote official into power, they're immediately the boss of people. When it's supposed to be like the other way around.
True.
Politicians
Yeah.
thinking people are their boss. They're not supposed to think that I'm the ruler of these people. Instead, I should do the influence that with the power and the influence and the capacity that I have, to actually make things better for the people that I serve. Not just, oh, since you voted me as leader, you have to do what I say. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be the other way around, right?
Yeah. True.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, I think we have around. I think we have 8 people who are currently watching the stream right now. Maybe they also have thoughts. If you guys would want to share, or if you guys have a comment, please let us know. Or if you have a question for us, we're okay to answer it for you. Just
Don't worry, this is a safe space.
this is
We
a safe space. This is a safe space.
we
We don't. We're in the
it,
gray area.
yeah, we're just sharing opinions. So if you have any opinions, then feel free to do so.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, the only thing we can't keep you safe from is if you have like super extreme opinions, like anti-terror law type levels of.
I think it's also important to
Yeah, but
discuss with the
but
person who supports those types of
yeah,
extremism.
but anyways, yeah, I was just joking. I was just joking. But yeah, to our viewers who do have opinions, feel free to share. Um, because us here, this is basically just us every Sunday night sharing each other's opinions on a certain topic. It doesn't have to be just the three of us. And yeah, this doesn't necessarily mean that for us our opinions are correct. They are opinions, so
Mhm.
we so we're just basically sharing them. And if you feel that your opinions differ or you have something to say as well, then go ahead. Our chat box is open.
Right.
True.
Yeah. And our goal with this podcast is just to spark conversation,
Yep.
Exactly. We
to
want
In,
get people
yeah,
encourage.
Mm.
Yeah.
encourage some debate and yeah, I think personality politics is a very interesting topic because it's deeply ingrained in Filipino everyday life that we don't even notice it anymore.
Mm.
It's just there, and we've gotten used to it. Like,
Mm.
Yeah. So to the viewers, if you can think about a situation wherein you were influenced by popularity when you were choosing your candidates, please feel free to share if you're into that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
hope we did some good on you guys.
exactly. Yeah, and there's so much more to talk about when it comes to this, but
Yeah.
I believe that we're about to run out of time, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, we don't have the time anymore.
ex-
We
yeah,
talk about. Although I would love to have discussed this with you guys more.
yeah. The last time we discussed
Yeah.
this,
Maybe we had 2 hours.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we actually like fully discussed like what's Congress, what's the use of Congress people, and up to like your representative, and it was a really deep conversation. Maybe we can
Yeah.
do a revisit in the future, but we've heard a few of our guests, or I mean a few of our listeners talk about what things they want to hear from us in the future, and we are actively researching them or thinking about those topics. And yeah, stay tuned to us in the coming weeks. We'll definitely be tackling more interesting topics. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're slowly getting there, I guess.
Yeah.
One topic at a time, right, guys?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
All right. Okay.
any
Ivan?
yeah, any final thoughts from you two, like on this topic that we have tonight? Like anything to impart to our, you know,
All right.
listeners?
Basically, just be critical, be curious, as much as you can. Educate those who don't have the capacity to educate themselves. That's really what's important. Especially that elections are coming up soon. In 2 years' time, we'll be voting our next president. Hopefully, it's someone new, or someone who has interests of people in mind. Basically,
Yeah,
Mm,
see,
Please.
maybe
Yeah.
final thoughts.
Um, you. I think you all said it now. We share the same sentiment. Like, I think people should be. You should be critical guys, because it's important to also know within ourselves
Mhm.
what's making us vote them, rather than just following you know, people's majority of the people saying that you should vote for this guy.
Mhm.
So yeah, it, yeah. I think that's it.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for
Please.
listening.
Thank you. Please think
That's
about the
about it.
children, bro.
Thank you so much, our dear listeners. Thank you for supporting us all the way. Uh,
Exactly.
thank you for constantly listening to us. I hope you get to listen to us more. And if you want, you could also share it with your friends if you think the stuff that we're talking about is actually pretty dope, or it's something that you would like to share with
Yeah.
your.
We wouldn't reach like six episodes without your support, without people encouraging us,
Mhm.
our friends. It's
Mhm.
pretty dope, Like we're just sharing our ideas, and
Mhm.
it's good. Yeah, it's fairly constructive that people are giving us comments and suggestions or ideas as well.
Mhm.
So thank
Yeah,
you.
and
We'll see you next week, I guess.
See you next
see you
week.
guys.
Thank you guys. You have a good
Thank
day.
you so
Good
much,
night.
everyone. Thank you, JC, for the very good discussion this evening. Uh, Again, like and subscribe if you want. Share it with your friends. Thank you so much, listeners. Have a great night. This has been the Gray Area.
Bye
Peace.
Peace.
bye.